Governor Newsom will officially face a recall election. We've got organizers of the effort behind it. Apparently, they've collected enough signatures to qualify it for the ballot.
And as these hats fall into the ring, hold on to your hat, because it's going to get crazy. Our political analyst, Michael Yaki, is here to talk about the prospects for this race.
Good morning, Michael.
So should I pay the filing fee and just like enter the race?
I guess so.
Everybody else is doing it. Yeah, I mean, it does remind me of when Gray Davis faced recall and we had just people coming out of the woodwork. Do you think we're going to see that sort of scenario play out again, or do you think it's going to be like this finite group of real serious contenders?
Oh no, it's already started. We have some of the leftovers from 2000 who are holding on to their glory days, former porn stars, former Billboard models. They've already registered. So, you know, it's going to be an only in California kind of race. Now, you know, I don't think that shouldn't take away from the seriousness with which voters should take a look at it. But there will be some amusement along the way.
But it's got to be hard to weed through if you're looking at hundreds of names. And yeah, it is going to dilute it. Is that going to do anything bad to the seriousness of what happens here?
No, I think it's a little bit of a sideshow, but the fact is that, you know, Governor Newsom has a lot of advantages to him right now in terms of registration, in terms of the fact that the kind of ballot for this will be the same as in November 2020, which 18 million Californians participated. And there are a lot of things that are in his favor, but there are a lot of things that he has to worry about too. These kind of elections are really spur of the moment. What am I feeling the day that I get my ballot? And so issues like the pandemic, the economic recovery, any other French Laundry type issues that could come out during that time, these are the things that he has to worry about between now and then. So unlike the first recall, the Gray Davis Schwarzenegger recall, which was like an 11-week campaign, we have essentially like a 6-month campaign between now and the time that the election will finally be called, probably, I would say, in October or November.
Now, you threw in the French Laundry thing, and if people don't know, it was because you went to the French Laundry with friends in the middle of COVID. You weren't supposed to. So, like, the rules are one thing he tells you to, and then what he's following is another thing. But as we move farther from stuff like that and from the whole COVID situation, that if you're going to blame him for that, as we move farther, when the election happens, will that help him the longer it takes to have the recall?
Well, I mean, one of the first things is going to be, remember, he announced that maybe by, I think, July 15th, the state would be open. If the state is not open on July 15th, if it's not open by September, if the schools are not open, those are the kinds of things that voters, I think, who are experiencing a lot of COVID fatigue could take out on the governor. So he's got to really deliver on those and make sure that those things happen, because that's a kind of bread and butter issue for a mom or a dad or anyone who's got a child who has been going crazy because of the pandemic. You know, again, it's a spur of the moment type of vote. It's like a free shot. You can say, well, maybe just on this day, I'll take a look at somebody else and I could vote yes on the recall and then pick, you know, somebody else off that list.
You know, timing is one aspect of this. You know, later in the year might be better for him. The other part of it, too, is the marketing of this, because the backers behind this recall, you know, these are seasoned Republican strategists who have fundraising ability. They have messaging and marketing. Can they keep up that message of the governor has failed to navigate us through this pandemic if things are getting better? That seems to be a tough challenge by the time this recall election comes around.
Well, I think that there's a couple of tough challenges that they face. One, these are a lot of the familiar faces from the Trump 2020 campaign. Some of them are running Caitlyn Jenner's campaign. They're advising John Cox and some of the others who are in the, Kevin Faulconer, who are in the race. The fact that you have people who are tied at the hip to a candidate who was extremely radioactive in the Golden State is going to be a problem. They need to get Democrats and independents to vote for the recall. And again, that's going to be a function of how people perceive the governor to be doing with regard to the pandemic. The Republicans may be able to get their base out. That's not going to be enough to recall the governor. Now, if they are able to, you know, by some chance recall the governor, their base could, for example, coalesce around the single candidate who could win the plurality and essentially win the lottery and to become governor of California. But it's a tall order, and you'll see the Democrats especially seizing on the Trump connections to undermine any message that comes out on the recall between now and November.
What you brought up, Caitlyn Jenner. What do you think of her as a candidate, as far as like win or lose? Do you think she has the staying power, and this is going to launch her into a whole new thing, whether or not she is a serious contender in the recall? Will we see her face more in politics later, do you think, or was this just a trick, just a show?
I don't know. I mean, this is someone who has a storied history in American sports, and then transitioned into the Kardashian reality show. We'll just have to see how she does. I don't underestimate her or anyone else in the race. She's someone who understands how to speak and do public speaking and go on the media, and she's certainly got her own following. But again, I think in the end, this is going to be about what people think of as good for California,
right,
and the politics and the economy and the pandemic. And she'll have to make her own statements on that and try and get her voice heard amongst a very crowded race in which the biggest voice will be that of Governor Newsom.
I was wondering if you had heard anything since she announced, because it was a huge splash,
right,
and we know her personally from the TV show and all of that. Have you heard anything about a platform?
I don't think we will hear anything for a while. I think that she's going to be basically raising money and seeing what kind of endorsements that she can get. But again, I think that it behooves the Newsom campaign to try and pay as little attention to any of these other candidates as possible. I mean, they've already got their own challenge, which is trying to make sure that no Democrat jumps in the race sometime in August or September, because they don't want to have anyone be an alternative. It's almost like, if you don't vote for Newsom, these are the cast of characters you're going to get. So you got to go vote for Newsom, and that's part of the campaign strategy going forward.
Okay.
Interesting. We'll have to see what happens. Again, we don't know yet when this recall election will take place. What's your best guess before we go?
I would say probably mid-November. I wouldn't be surprised if they picked the first Tuesday in November, the normal election day, because people are used to that. And it also cuts off, it really shortens the time period by which someone has to declare to be on the ballot. So I think there are a couple reasons why that would probably work.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Michael.
Thank you.
All right.
We'll be right back.